Greetings, beautiful viewers, this is Smitten, and welcome to episode 33 of How to Build Smite. Today we'll be finding out what all the buzz is about surrounding the newer-ish god of honey and bees or whatever. Ah Muzen Cab. This video was recorded prior to his batch of nerfs, so what you see is not necessarily what you get. Now for a quick rundown of his abilities. He's got a passive that... do we really have to do this?
Yes!
Why?
It's a guide!
Fine, but I'm making it quick. His passive places a dot on enemies hit by his abilities. His 1 grants him 6 beehives that increase his attack and movement speed while giving him additional health regen. His 2 launches a swarm of bees dealing damage to enemies. His 3 spews honey all over the place, slowing enemies. When used close to a hive, it acts as a dot while enemies are in the honey. His ultimate fires a stinger in a straight line, sticking to the first thing it hits, crippling them, and after 3 seconds, stinger drops and if picked up, reduces the cooldown of his ult to 18 seconds. Now it's time for a demonstration of why you shouldn't level your hive first. Sure, it looks pretty, sure it gives you some health regen, sure it increases your attack speed, but it doesn't do much to bring down a buff camp. While Aphrodite may be good at jiggling, she's not very good at taking hits from sticks to her face while in the beginning of the game, and instead of leashing the camp to me, she drops to half health before we even make it to lane. But now that we're here, we see our enemies are nowhere to be found. This not-so-curious development means they're in the jungle somewhere. So Aphrodite is missing while we clear the wave, allowing me to reach level 2 to finally pick up a useful ability. After dropping my hive, we decide to go check out their blue buff. On the way over, we can hear the commotion at the camp while Zeus burns down Isis for first blood, and we stumble upon our hapless opponents. My bees and Aphrodite's birds burst Hades down and steal the blue buff, but the lucky bugger escapes a stone's throw away from death. Too bad he wasn't allergic to bee stings. Chapter 1, Dead Homies. After the initial engagement, both Hades and Anhur had to cycle back to base, defending the tower one at a time, missing out on tons of golden experience, leaving us with a level advantage. Anhur returns to the lane with a mysterious red buff, and Aphrodite moves in to stun and dot him while I dance around with ADD instead of assisting in the kill. I could have laid down my honey and taken a few basic attacks, but instead he leaps away with his life, and we have to push a minion wave back. Remember how he has that red buff? That can only mean his jungler is on our side of the map. Undeterred, or perhaps even oblivious, we keep up the pressure. Anhur missing his pillar stun leaves him open for another stun dot combo from Aphro, which finishes him off, ensuring the support gets fed the way it's meant to be. Aphrodite agrees and we go back to clearing out minions. While we're enjoying some success in this lane, our team is getting slaughtered elsewhere. It's odd that Hades is still parked under his tower, and his impatient dancing should be a tip that something is up, but it isn't until Guan Yu comes blazing out of the jungle, Talu's assault active, that we finally wise up. The attempted gank goes south, and the duo is saved momentarily by Shivalanke's ultimate. The minion wave falls, and Aphrodite decides to bust her ultimate before even reaching tower range. Apparently, it isn't time to poke the tower, it's time to go for the kill. Or suicide dive for no reason whatsoever. Well, that was embarrassing. I guess we gave him the kill after all. As I begin falling back, Zeus comes in down lane. I drop my hive and dodge the 3rd basic attack from Zeus, preventing him from getting a stun. Just as that's over with, Guan Yu comes charging up, and I narrowly avoid his ultimate by moving slightly to the left. Jumping for joy, I drop a hive from my dead homies. Chapter 2, Denied! Once again our team is dying, but Aphro and I have our opponents pushed against their tower. Hades isn't content with his lot in life and dives in and drops his ult. I guess he did it because it was off cooldown, and Aphrodite pops Undying Love, sending Hades running back down the lane, pleading to Anhur to save him from his terrible decision. Desert Fury blurs my vision as I gladly take every spear to the face instead of strafing slightly to the right. Somehow my bees miss Hades and he dives off to safety. I want to go over something real quick. You can interrupt AMC's ult and place it on cooldown with a well-timed attack. Watch as Anhur lands his impale just before my stinger gets launched, and as I embarrassingly use an ability before leveling it. Just a tip for those of you with quick reflexes and an interrupt. Chapter 3, Choices? Now to demonstrate some not-so-solid decision-making skills. While I could go for the tower I've pushed to and kept getting stacks on my Heartseeker, I instead decide my time is better spent moseying on over to mid lane to try to push a tier 1 tower that's actually being defended by the enemy team. 4 of us are in mid and we're actually being held off due to our minion wave being back in our towers, so we're a really effective forward defense. Follow me if you would and direct your attention to the minimap. Only now, a full 36 seconds later, has a defender come to the aid of the left tower, and we're still no closer to even poking their mid tower, and I've effectively gained a single stack on my Heartseeker. While the rest of my team is starting to wise up and head off to greener pastures, I've planted my flag and intend to stay no matter how fruitless my efforts or how outnumbered I am. Anhur and Guan Yu have now joined Zeus, and Shivalanke's ultimate informs me that I need to be peacing out. Isis didn't get the memo and I turned to see Guan Yu charging me down. Stunned and alone once again, and now well below half health, I think it's my turn to hide under a tower. Unfortunately, I turned to see their mini-wave is actually approaching and Guan Yu is committed to the dive. The tables have turned! Free kill! It's all mine! I can... die to Hades?
No!
Chapter 4. Get off my beehives! Alright, I'm back, baby, and better than ever with 7 stacks of Heartseeker and... Devourer's Gloves? Okay, I guess I'll deal with it. Isis is just gonna have to deal with another death because I've got Guan Yu all over my beehives, and once again, I'm stunned just outside of my tower. Time for a repeat! I'm gonna kite this bad boy around... When the hell did you learn to hit so hard? Chapter 5. Doors not opened. I was pushing up left lane to take out the tower I could have taken before when I smelled a rat. A dirty jungle nerd is trying to steal Gold Fury right out from under our wards. I saw him off with a swarm of bees and let the bugger run off into the jungle, tail firmly tucked between his tightly clenched butt cheeks. With the threat gone, my team promptly begins to meander to the Gold Fury, heeding my earlier call to defend the now open objective. What do we do to capitalize on this event? Nothing! We simply dance idly until I decide it's time to go back and buy, while we could have been taking down the objective for ourselves. Look at the minimap. 3 teammates, 1 Gold Fury, no enemies in sight. We must really enjoy needlessly long games, as once again we waste an excellent opportunity. And I leave the well without spending that excess gold! Tier 1 blink, that's all I need! Chapter 6. You heard him, nerds. Let's boogie. Heeding Afro's call, we all race the left lane to try to defend our tier 2 tower. Team in tow, I feel confident in directly engaging my opponents. I'll make them pay for this tower with their lives. I do a good job of reducing Shivalanke to below half health, and Hades drops his ult while I show him the meaning of damage. I'm still confident that any second now my teammates who are directly behind me will spring from the jungle and help me seal the deal. Any second now. Guys? What the? Why the f did you go around blue buff? So you remember how I finished off Devourer's Gloves? Game time wise, it was a whole 2 minutes ago. What do I have to show for it? An impressive 5 stacks. My inability to farm and the frustration of MOBAs aside, I'm doing a pretty good job at shooing Baby Slayer away from our right lane. I'm getting pretty tired of the split pushing, and I'd love to teach him a lesson, but our middle lane is definitely in trouble and I should probably go in for the assist. Guan Yu and I head off into the jungle, and our progress feels slow, but as we pass red buff, I get a sudden rush of adrenaline and get into the moment. Bursting from the jungle, I cover Guan Yu in bees and honey and leave him open to be hacked to death by his clone. All the while, Zeus reminds me that he's still around and burns through at least 2/3 of my health with a single blow. I try to retreat, but once again, Hades pulls some cheap crap and polishes me off. Chapter 8. Just that one guy! 4 minutes after buying Devourer's Gloves, I've got 16 stacks to show for it, and I feel this means that Transcendence is obviously the next item of choice. If you can't stack 2 items, you might as well not stack 3. My peaceful farming is interrupted by Hero's calls to defend Gold Fury, but I arrive just in time to see Guan Yu secure it. Curses is right! Drats! Drats and damnation! With that disappointing setback fresh in our memories, a team fight begins as my team once again slowly meanders to the lost objective. Guan Yu demonstrates his superior positioning skills as he isolates himself amongst a sea of enemies, while Isis, Hebrew, and myself move in to try to assist. Hades shows he knows how to MOBA use all the ultimates on just one guy who's sure to die anyways. Once one person uses their ultimate, a chain reaction goes off and everyone just ults in all directions. Unfortunately for us, their team was just a little bit better at randomly ulting things, and I decide it's time to jet. Chapter 9. Just need stacks! Okay, it's time to stop being stupid. We don't see our opponents, so I had to check Fire Giant with Afro in tow. It's clear, but as I round the corner on my way back to lane, Hades smacks me across the face and it's time to retreat. Shivalanke joins Hades and Aphrodite, get out of the way! Oh myself, help! After Aphrodite's body block, I managed to start putting some distance between myself and my pursuers. Baby Slayer's ultimate ends and I think about moving down the lane, but Afro tugs me past red buff. Hades is still in pursuit, but it looks like he's alone. That is until Shivalanke joins him and Guan Yu ults into the engagement, ensuring that I won't be getting any more farm for a while. Chapter 10. In it to win it. Once again, our enemies have all but disappeared, so I went to check the Fire Giant. There was no one there, but I did find this lost little Shivalanke. He books it into mid lane with Guan Yu hot on his heels and gets stunned by the final strike of the ultimate, leaving him vulnerable, so I put him down with my stinger. Turning around, I see Zeus and abandon Guan Yu to the fates and go searching for greener pastures. Isis peels around the corner, leaving the opposing Guan Yu in the dust, isolated and surrounded. His greed has caught up with him, and it's time he faces the consequences of his over-pursuit. All the missed skill shots in the world won't be enough to save him now when he finally falls to the collective idiocy of our team. Seeing as how we managed to piece that win together, I think it's high time we do something risky and call for an attack on the Fire Giant. Anhur and more importantly Zeus are still up and lurking about somewhere, as they were in mid lane last when I saw them, so they're definitely in the area. Sure enough, a lightning bolt strikes my booty and we pass it about like an STD at a hippie convention. When Zeus detonates, the lava is just starting to rise and I find myself uncomfortably low, but forget that, I got this! Undeterred, we stay focused on the Fire Giant with unwavering dedication. It's kind of admirable now that I'm looking back on it, but also stupid. Zeus murders Hebrew, but I can taste the Fire Giant buff. It's under a quarter health and I refuse to surrender the objective. The end of Undying Love and a second lightning bolt finish me off and gives Fire Giant to our opponents. Chapter 11, don't read chat. God damn it is right, Isis. They got Fire Giant. They're almost 10k ahead in gold and they have 6 kills on us. Our last engagements went poorly due to stupid decisions, and 10 minutes after completing Devourer's Gloves, it's still not fully stacked. It looks like we're gonna need a miracle to pull this one out. We're doing the best we can to defend. They have the minions pushed up close to our phoenixes in mid and right lane, and both teams are busy trying to get in the best position for the coming engagement. Xbalanque's ult sends a quiver, raw fear down my spine as I think, this is it! But as it clears, I notice we've only lost Isis. Hebrew and Guan Yu make their entrance to right lane. Guan lands a solid last hit on his ultimate, stunning Anhur and Xbalanque. Anhur falls to Hebrew's wave as the enemy Guan Yu's ult finishes without landing a stun. Hebrew knocks him into the air and I slay him with a basic attack. Hades is almost dead, but I miss my ultimate and give chase. Missing my swarm, Hades dives further into the jungle, but I blink after him just to see Zeus round the corner and come to his defense. I feel a sense of deja vu and think back to the lesson we just taught Guan Yu, but by the time I finish my thought, Zeus finished me off. Chapter 12, Target Practice. Party in left jungle, think you can leave me off the guest list? Think again. I crashed a party by the gold Kims and missed Xbalanque by a mile. Watching this now makes me wonder what I was doing. He didn't even juke it. With that embarrassing situation out of the way, confusion rears its ugly head. Enemies and friendlies running to and fro, and I'm pretty sure I even attacked a minion before Xbalanque catches my attention again and I pursue him down the lane. He strafes out of my honey only to take a shot or two in the back before I finally tire the Catboy and blast him with my stinger. Turning around, a low health Hades catches my attention and I lock on. Sort of. Landing and missing basic attacks, I follow him through his tower, missing with my swarm before landing that final basic attack to bring him to justice. It is, however, time to make a hasty retreat as I'm kind of out here all in my onesie. Spoiler alert, I really should have gone right because once again, I blink directly in front of Zeus and no amount of moaning is going to prevent what's about to happen to me. My honey isn't even a distraction and I make a hearty snack for the God of Thunder. Yeah, I hope you choke on it. Chapter 13, 2 waltz, 1B. We just checked Fire Giant and found it devoid of enemies, so that must mean the sneaky little wenches are taking Gold Fury. Rounding the corner demonstrates that my hypothesis was correct, and I charge in, trumpets blaring, spraying honey all over everything, and generally just making a mess. That's when Hades reminds me that he's around and his ult is off cooldown. Anhur agrees and I fall in the midst of the 2 wasted ultimates. Chapter 14, going thrice. Wondering how the hell we have Fire Giant and are on the attack? Better watch the kill montage after the build guide at the end of the video for that answer. And don't worry, the build you see in that build guide will not be the terrible travesty you see before you. This is probably the worst build I've ever seen in a level 30 game. Other than the build, why was this clip selected for the fail video? Well, let's just go ahead and fast forward a little bit. Cast your eyes upwards and rightwards to the edge of the screen. Notice the timers on the enemy team. Notice the length of time it's taking us to down each Phoenix. And notice how my greed takes over and I call for an attack on the left Phoenix as the enemy team respawns and surprisingly my team follows. And now notice how we retreat, finally aware of the fact that time is a thing and it advances and waits for no one, not even with Fire Giant. The enemy team uses the time-tested strategy of all the ults! Luckily I had an old school Panic Aegis in hand and the Zeus Mobile had already used detonation, or this section would have a lot more cussing. My decision to push our advantage a few hairs too far had already cost Guan Yu his life, and I'm frantically fluttering, trying to make sure that it doesn't cost me mine. I don't know if I can say the same for Afro though, because the Xbalanque's ultimate fade, she meets an untimely and almost assuredly grisly end. That'll teach them to listen to my calls. Scrubs. Chapter 15, why did I buy that? Yay, I haven't died since the last chapter, but Anhur seems to want to try his luck at reversing that. That is until Afro and Guan Yu flank him and the cowardly lion wisely attempts to leap to safety. Guan Yu wants blood and charges after him just as Hebrew hammers him with Fists of the Gods before drowning the kitty with his crushing wave. Hades makes a not so surprising entrance, dropping his ultimate once again, while Fancy it did nothing to prevent me from burying him beneath a swarm of bees. Hebrew didn't survive the onslaught and both Afro and Guan Yu are pretty low, but I fly to the rescue, murdering the opposing Guan Yu as Aphrodite lands the kiss on Xbalanque that surely saves their lives, and I proceed to chase him away from his would-be prey. Why I thought dropping honey that slows him and keeps him within range of my nearly dead teammates was a good idea, I'll never know. But nonetheless, I succeeded in protecting my allies, and with their help, secure the kill for the deicide. Having learned to watch respawn timers earlier, a sudden realization dawns on us. They're dead, and they're going to stay dead for a lot longer than it will take us to kill their Minotaur. This hour-long game can finally end, and I can put this shameful build behind me. Can't I? We've been playing from behind most of this game, so it just goes to show you that if you can run out the clock, gold advantage means nothing, even if you waste on random garbage like I did when you finally do catch up. This sure is one embarrassing assortment of items to secure a victory with. Nonetheless, a good game to my opponents and a good game and well played to my allies, who without which... Wait, what am I talking about? I did this all myself! Get carried! I mean, without which I couldn't have endured my way to victory. Full disclosure, this match was played and recorded on the day of his release, so the ages that you saw, and the amount of times that Beast passed through things without dealing damage, and the raw damage output has been changed. His basic attacks still fire off slightly left to center though, so aim your shots accordingly. After all that has been said and done, AMC isn't the hunter for me. He's intensely mana hungry, lacks any real escape, and that left-leaning basic attack really screws with my already wonky ability to aim. While there are probably many people who can shine with him, I probably won't pick him over competing alternatives. For his leveling priorities, you'll go 4, 2, 3, and then 1. For his item builds, there are 2 that I like. The first is your standard hunter build. Death's Toll, then Warrior's Tabi, then Heartseeker, only make sure you get your stacks, followed by Sais, and now, as a general rule, when choosing between Rage and Malice, follow this. Before Deathbringer, get Rage. After Deathbringer, get Malice. The reason you get Rage if you get it before Deathbringer is because the stacking crit chance is much more beneficial than the additional physical power you get from Malice. Either way, you're picking up 2 of these 3 items. Round it off by selling off Death's Toll if you haven't already, and pick up Titan's Bane. There is an alternative build that works very well on AMC, and that is rushing Transcendence as your first item. Play your cards right and you can have it completed in about 4 to 4.5 minutes. Transcendence is a great item on AMC, not just because of the extra mana and MP5, but once you're level 20 and it's fully stacked, AMC will gain 97.4 physical power from this one item, so it's incredibly useful all the way through the match. And so concludes the guide on Ah Muzen Cab. If we tickled your fancy, make sure to rate and subscribe for upcoming videos. You can also come hang out with us on Facebook and Twitter. You can also follow us on Twitch to see us streaming live. We also have a TeamSpeak 3 server for the Gank First Gaming community. Links in the description. Leave your suggestions on how to play this god as well as any feedback you have for us in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, I'm Smitten, and I'll see you next time. Now, on to the slaughter! His basic attacks still fire off slightly. His basic attacks still fire off slight. Okay. I instead decided. God damn it.